Hey, Twitch, this is Abe Nadimi. I'm here at the Kinetic Experience. We're a company based out of Dallas, Texas, and we're excited to have you here joining us. Again, my name is Abe.
I'm Jannica Morton.
Emily Francis.
And we're missing Stephen Ellis, and he might actually come in a little bit later in today, so we're pretty excited to see him. He always brings in an awesome perspective, so we love all the times that Stephen is with us.
Plus diversity, so.
And then we get the token, we have the token diversity moment. So, anyways, so today's topic is, we've been going around the wealth wheel right now. So we have 10 different resources in our wealth wheel, and this is the way we're defining wealth as, well, the dictionary defines wealth as an abundance of possessions, resources, and money. And so we look at the way an individual creates life and creates their optimal life, and what are the resources that they're using. Money is one of them, but then there's 10 different ones, or 9 different ones, for a total of 10 that we have. And one of them that we consider a resource that people draw on and use for the creation of their optimal life is vulnerability. So, Jannica, what does that mean to you?
Vulnerability, it means really just being authentic and not guarding who I am. It also means owning my decisions, owning what I like and believe in.
That's a good. I never thought of it that way.
Not backing down from that,
yeah.
like admitting it.
Wow, that's good.
When you make the mistakes or decisions, then
What's a mistake?
Apparently, I
Remember
make a lot
when we
of
talked
them.
about reflection yesterday?
Yes, reflection. I didn't say failure.
Oh yeah, okay.
So for me, vulnerability is like taking that risk. It's putting yourself out there. It's trusting that and owning who you are, loving who you are, and just being okay with it and not really caring what other people think. So that's kind of what it means to me. And I like the risk part because I am all about the risk. Let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? Yes, let's.
So, Ms. Francis, what did you think about this topic when you first saw it?
It took me a while risk, entrepreneurs, take a risk, that makes sense. But kind of diving more into it just as like a whole person. Mm-hmm. Why all of the, vulnerability, exposing yourself, not your genitals, but your feelings. And risk, why all of those things are so important. Because I think a lot of our kind of culture and society today, just things like social media that do connect us also in a way allow us to put up a front. Because you can be crying your eyes out, but posting happy memes, and no one will ever know anything's wrong. And so being able to be vulnerable and expose yourself to people in real life and those around you that can maybe support you in a different way than relationships you have that are, long distance is really important. But yeah, being vulnerable, just allowing people in, and that opening yourself up to that hurt is also how you open yourself up to the most amazing of friendships and relationships. So
this is a topic Brene Brown speaks a lot about, and I think it's a really interesting topic. And one of the things that she talks about is that, well, let's say it a different way. A lot of times men will really want to shy away from this topic, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody shies away from this topic in a lot of ways, but of the genders, I would say definitely
men more than women.
Men more than women,
yeah.
Right? So anyways, what she ends up saying is she was apparently, she tells a story about how she was in a room with a bunch of military guys. Mm-hmm. And she was describing the need for vulnerability, and she said she asked them, which one of you can point out any of the recipients of the Medal of Honor or any of the military awards for heroic actions that were not being vulnerable, and that they're actually exhibiting the utmost vulnerability. That's how they ended up with it. And so what vulnerability meant is the exposure to uncertain or unknown physical, emotional, or mental damage.
Stress, damage.
So
And I never thought about that, but militarily and stuff like that, like,
Yeah.
When you hop out of a foxhole, for example, or
Yeah.
you run across a field to save your friend, like that's
you're being physically vulnerable. And exposing yourself to risk. But not in the same way as crying in front of your buddies because something bad happened.
Right. Excuse me, my monitor's going a little fritz.
Stephen did say he was here in spirit.
Yeah, I know. I was acting up. So we'll see how this works. Yeah, but isn't that an interesting way to look at it, right? Like I never thought of it like that.
No, I love her definition of it. And then in reading Daring Greatly.
Who wrote that?
Brene Brown.
Oh yeah.
One of her many, many books that are absolutely amazing that maybe you should read. I love it. That's the one where I sent you the quote from someone famous. And it was about daring greatly. Shit. Anyways.
Dear internet.
Hello.
Please forgive us.
Hello, Google. Siri, someone answer my question.
Daring Greatly quote. Thankfully, a lot of people apparently were already thinking this.
It's an awesome quote. One of the presidents or someone.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt. I knew it was a president. It's an awesome quote, and I've sent it to you a few times.
Can you tell us the quote, please?
It's really long. I was trying to see if there was
it's like
like
a mile long.
a sentence of it.
Yeah, what is the gist of it?
That's what I'm reading.
Daring greatly.
Yeah.
It's like what it takes to dare greatly. To be vulnerable.
Oh my God. I'm like, okay, well, this person. Oh, the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do these deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with the cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. It's basically, shut up if you're not out there fighting a good fight.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, Stephen, if you were here, maybe we would have got that quote right. So the preparation fails on you.
What did he say? Is he
Hashtag preparation fail. Well, it's a live show. We didn't know we were going to talk about that.
I know it's not scripted.
So no, I like it. We had a whole conversation around how does vulnerability play into human relationships? And go ahead.
Because if you're not vulnerable in a relationship, it's not a real relationship. It's just two people pretending at each other with
Yeah.
two people playing a role at the same time in the same scene.
I don't know about real or not real, but I would just say it's not very deep. It's very
How can
judgy.
it be real? You're not engaged in an interaction with someone that's them. That's not their true self. It's their persona. It's whoever they want to present to you.
Right?
I mean,
It's just not very deep. That's very judgy of you guys.
it's not judgy.
I think you're counting a superficial relationship as more valuable than like
No.
a real one.
No, I did not. I said deeper. So deep relationships are going to be extremely valuable or extremely desired for some people.
Okay, so
But I
let me
think the
ask you.
vulnerability is part of.
Well, is it even a relationship if it's at that level, or is it an acquaintance or someone that you interact with? Because a relationship implies some sort of give and take. To me, at least, it implies some sort of under a superficial interaction.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and you would have to know the other person, which means they have to be vulnerable enough to let you in. And if they don't, then you don't know them. So
what we discussed, I think, was that it's this like cycle that you get some level of vulnerability that's accepted, right, or that's received with acceptance, and then thus the other person can reciprocate, and it almost is this like back and forth seesaw effect, right? That allows that kind of trust in the relationship to build, and then ultimately you can continue going on that route. And I think it's really important to have that deep relationship that you're able to facilitate each other expressing yourselves at that level.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, ultimately one of the things that we were discussing and trying to understand and how that plays in. Because if somebody walks in the door right now and is level 10 vulnerable, right? Maybe it's too much, too soon. So, right, like we don't even know you and you just let everything out on the table. And thank you for being so vulnerable, but maybe, I will say personally, I will maybe not be there with that person at that same level, right?
Or you'll dive in because they are.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
look at
So
our-
what do you
look at-
think, how do you think we would handle a situation?
Look
like
at our game when we played Cards Against Mundanity with Jason and people in Industrious we hadn't even ever met before.
Valid point. Valid point.
All it takes is one person to be raw, and then everyone else either has a choice to walk away or dive in deep. But if they do anything halfway, it's so obvious that they're full of shit.
That's a very, very valid point.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, kind of to your point, because you have someone's like, oh, I mean, everybody has been in a situation where they meet some random person. You strike up like, oh, hey, how are you? And someone's like, I know about your parole issues and what your mom's like drug dealer thought about like your car, and I'm like, what is this? Like, is it the glasses?
The mom's drug dealer.
Like, I know I look like someone you can talk to, and I hope that I can be that person for some people, but there might be a certain level of oversharing you may want to, like, unpack a little bit. Because are you being vulnerable, or are you just unloading for attention? Because you have figured out, like, you can say your truth and get a lot of attention. And that's not really vulnerability, that's attention-seeking behavior.
Right.
Vulnerability, you're opening up for the sake of yourself or to build a connection, not for like, I want to be the craziest chick at the crazy show. Like, it's crazy America.
Yeah, I agree.
So then what do you think about that?
I agree.
Well, that's kind of the opposite of what you said a second ago.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I think when you're talking to someone, whether it's let me dump on you, I need you to feed into my drama, or also it could be I am suffering so much right now I can't even answer the question how are you with I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily seeking drama or seeking attention. It's just
totally different.
I am absolutely raw. I can't even lie about it. And I've been there a lot of times, and I'm like, don't ask me. I'm not going to answer it with, oh, it's beautiful and rainbows outside. That's bullshit. I'm not blessed right now.
Hashtag blessed.
I hate that at church. Someone's suffering and they're like, oh, I'm blessed. No, you're not.
I appreciate your desire to be strong, put on a happy face, but
I don't even know. I don't agree with it's a desire to be strong. I think it's just bullshit. It's not being authentic with where you are.
Not a desire to be strong, would be a desire to not show a perceived weakness.
Right.
Like, if I was tough, this wouldn't bother me. It's like,
or if I had enough faith, this wouldn't bother me.
Don't even get me started on that one.
And I find that also in the whole awakened community too. I find a lot of that is bullshit, where they are suffering, they are struggling, and they just repeat an affirmation to you. And I'm like, no, because you can feel that, when it's fake. And then it just like gives a whole tainted version to what that community is about.
It's tainted love.
It is tainted love.
So true. Don't touch me, please. I cannot stand the way you tease.
It's tainted love.
Yeah.
I wish I knew more of that song, but I don't. So she does, apparently.
Emily knows all the words to everything.
Oh, thanks, musical theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Choir nerds.
So what about the risk element?
In what? I mean, that could be applied to
Well,
anything.
how does that apply to business or optimal life? How about
Well,
for a non-entrepreneur? How does that apply?
Okay, so simple thing, like they're in a job for 10 years. They're miserable maybe, or they're okay. Let's not even say they're miserable. They're just doing okay, but they know there could be better. But they're happy. They have great insurance. They're whatever, 3 weeks paid vacation. But it might be a risk for them and a leap of faith to go out and take another job that they don't know anything about It's almost like that, picking the evil I know or picking the pain I know versus taking the risk to try.
The devil I know versus the devil I know.
Yes. Yeah.
Or in that same job, let's say they want to stay at it, that risk of, you're in some random meeting, like, you put your hand up, you're like, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Depending on the culture or, who you are in the company, it may be not as received or, acceptable for the intern to be like, well, what about this? That is a risk, even though it shouldn't be. It should be encouraged in most situations. It's that
actually speaks to psychological safety in some instances.
Yeah, on just overcoming that psychological safety is you're taking a risk, because it could be like, oh my gosh, you're a genius, thank you. Or like, go get coffee and don't open your mouth again. Like, Devil Wears Prada, like the whole thing where it was just like, oh, you don't give ideas that someone did not tell you to share.
Yeah.
And that is, a real workplace situation. So around here, I'm never allowed to like share my thoughts on anything.
Like, we could shut her up.
Like maybe with duct tape.
No, I'm pretty sure you would find a way around that. She'd become a really good ventriloquist all of a sudden.
Yeah, so like day number 2, Emily shows up and takes over the boards on the walls and creates rules about how we could use different tasks and tools.
And you are very welcome.
I even wrote you a nice note to that effect. That was my etiquette thank you note.
that we're welcome.
Ever touch this again? Oh my God. Well, I think the risk one is really interesting because I think the way people gauge, to go back to that conversation or that scenario of somebody who's in that job that doesn't want to venture out. I always think through, what are you comparing this moment to what?
Right.
So you leave the job. It's not like you go down the fork in the road and it's like, well, I'm doing all right in this job, but over here there's this potential for a career that's way more fulfilling and has activities that I really want to have, or firing squad. It's like, it's really not like that, but that's really, it seems like, how some people take those moments. Like the opposite of this is always like death by 1,000 needle or 1,000 cuts, and it's like, it's really not the opposite of that.
But is that fear that's introduced that creates that thought process?
And there's a lot of stuff, and I don't know. I think fear definitely plays into it. I think it's a lack of the confidence that they have in themselves to get something different. Right? I never thought about that. So when I left Bell to work at Social Smoke full time,
That was a big risk.
Yeah, but it was, to me, I was like, but if I have to, I just get a job back here. I'm leaving on good terms.
Right.
Or Lockheed, or Ball Aerospace, or you get the point.
Yeah, well, yeah, you had a lot of options at the time.
Never thought about it like that, but so many other people, but
they wouldn't even consider leaving.
No way, absolutely not.
Yeah.
They'd rather complain and bitch and moan, to be frank with you.
Yeah.
And they'll create a situation and they'll talk, and that's where, of course, my lack of being a coach or mentor triggers. Why are you bitching and moaning then? You don't want to do what you're. That's the one that really triggers me. Hashtag trigger like a motherfucker.
And you don't judge people.
I don't know, it's not judging or not. It's just, it's you're not even saying what you really want. What you want is right in front of you, and what you really want is you want someone to almost back you up and create an environment for you that there is no risk, so you can hop careers, and if you're not good at it or you're not happy, then you don't have to deal with the consequences of it. But what is that about?
Well, that's in so many different things.
You're not going to learn anything from the experience. You're going to, and then might as well quit bitching and moaning and just be happy with where you're at, because, right?
Yeah.
I would love, hypothetically, to be able to tell you that I've climbed Mount Everest. I do not want to deal with the risk of doing that, nor the preparation of it, nor any of that. So it's almost that. I just want you to, put me up there and then bring me down off a helicopter or something crazy that can actually do that. And then I could tell the story, but I don't want to deal with any of the stuff going in and out. I don't want to see the already frozen dead people that have been there for 40 years. Nope, not interested. Come on, man, it doesn't work like that. Just quit talking about it then.
Yeah.
What did I read? Were we talking about this? The current state of Mount Everest, and is literally shit mountain.
What is it?
Literally poop, because people trekking, it is such, or elevator business, and people just dip, 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 constantly.
Like,
It's literally covered in poop.
That's frozen.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause
disgusting.
you're just, I mean, if only a couple of people made it up to the top, just buried under a pile of snow. But now, like, there are so many people going up and down Mount Everest now just to literally get their
photo.
3 second at the top and down you go. So it's creating just
crazy.
Something that was such a pinnacle of like achievement
Yeah.
is now just like another like
Shit show.
literally a shit show, but an opportunity like, ooh, I can take a selfie. So you've got people who are physically and, mentally and emotionally maybe not qualified for that level of physical endeavor.
I don't know.
So people are getting hurt, and Sherpas are not, they're in bad shape because they got to cart, 800 oxygen bottles up to the top because people who are not equipped to get up there are trying to do it. It's this whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll have to find it. I'm gonna remember, but it was because back when I was, probably early middle school is when a lot of the Everest exploration like kind of took off again.
The really famous ones.
Yeah, Krakauer and
I love that book. Into Thin Air. Have you read it?
Yeah. They did like was it ABC or something? They did like a movie of it, but like the book is really good.
The book is like heart wrenching.
Yeah.
And
Is it the one that came out as a movie like 2 years ago? Like a Texas dude lost his arm?
No, that's 127 hours.
I don't remember.
But no, this one, it was Into Thin Air. Again, this would have been the mid to late 90s-ish.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
He wrote a bunch of good books. Krakauer, yeah. He wrote one about the Mormon culture.
That was really
so
interesting.
Good.
He's under the banner of heaven.
Yes, so good. You would really like it.
I think I had that actually.
Into the Wild. That's the other one. That was
one they made a movie. I think.
Yeah.
I did see that movie.
Was
yeah.
it?
His
That
books
was
are
crazy.
So
Dude
good.
died in the bus.
Yeah.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that really
but
did
he's
spoil
just
it.
an amazing writer.
Yeah.
And just it's just.
And his books are all about people who are vulnerable. Exposure and risk.
They
all about them.
Straight up 100% in the risk column. These people are not risk
Okay, hold on.
averse.
Speaking of 100% risk, so to show you the impact of vulnerability, right, and how it can cause such a paradigm shift for the person who's going through that. There's a guy right now. Well, there's a documentary. It's on Amazon, and he free climbs El Capitan.
Yes. Yeah.
Please?
No.
So is there a fine line between risk and absolutely crazy?
No ropes, nothing. Just him and a 3,000-foot wall, sheer cliff wall.
Yeah. I
Maybe?
don't
Can you imagine?
know. No.
Like my insides turn thinking about that. So
have
he
you,
did-
and when you stand at the bottom of it,
No, I can imagine.
Looking up, the awe.
3,000 feet. That's over like.
It's over a mile.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No,
The
a mile is
5,880.
yes.
Yeah.
It's
Like
it's over a half a mile straight up on a sheer face wall.
yeah.
Just put that under the list of things that'll never be on my bucket list.
No.
The not bucket list.
Yeah. The
No, but-
fuck it list.
bucket list.
Fuck it.
But of all the people that have climbed El Capitan, he is famous
Yeah.
because his vulnerability was so high. He literally pegs it at 10, like 10, 10.
Yeah.
Exposure 10, risk 10.
So I wonder, like, looking at the wealth wheel, what else he would have to be really high on? Purpose, because his
100%.
goals for sure.
That was a big thing he talked about. Probably fun.
Fun, health. Well, duh. That requires all
I don't know
sorts
about
of
the
mind.
mental health.
I think that's where it all
I was
goes.
gonna say, like, just thinking about like the laser focus you have to be able to dial
Yes.
into, like when your arms are giving out, and just be like, nope, gonna
Yeah.
keep going, because literally there's no other option.
Well, okay, like thinking through this whole thing, support. He's got to have
Yeah,
right
his,
environment.
I don't know, his wife, fiance, girlfriend,
Right.
something was like drove him there, and she
Yeah.
drove away crying like he could die today.
Well, that doesn't. Hopefully, she didn't tell him that. The voices.
I'm sure she was not hiding that one very well. The voices probably not so good.
Yeah, most people were probably like, "You're insane."
So I will say he didn't just walk up to it and climb it, right? The free climb was something, if I'm not mistaken, it was like the 57th time that he's done El Capitan.
Yeah.
So he's gone through the same thing
Yeah.
57 times. So he was like, I know this wall.
Yeah.
So
and at that, there's a lot
so
of
very
memory,
smart about it, but
muscle
that
memory.
goes right. There's a lot to it. I mean, of course, the chances of having a failure are still there, but after
Yeah.
57 times, he's like, no, I know everything about that wall. I know, you know what. So that's the other part of exposure or risk here is being smart about when you actually jump. Instead of just telling your boss to fuck off and walk out the door,
Yeah.
you know,
the
maybe you can create some plan for yourself.
Well, risk doesn't have to mean stupidity. It does in a lot of places.
A calculated risk.
Calculated risk,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's just as much I think it's just as much a risk to sit in misery. You just don't recognize it till it's too late.
Yeah. Can you write that as a quote? Or make Jannica Instagram famous. It's just as risky to sit in misery. You just don't realize it. Hashtag genius quote.
Yeah, I don't know. You think of people who like the movie Up. Just oh my god, I love that movie.
How many times have you cried? How many?
Every time I've seen it, like a million times.
How about you, Emily?
I think I watched it once.
Did you do the
Did you at
ugly
least
cry at the
in it?
beginning?
Because, or lie to me.
No, I think I cried.
She lied.
No, I'm trying to remember.
This is dumb.
Miles and I were just like, this is for kids?
I see. Totally.
Or the end of Toy Story, I think 2 or 3. Do you remember that?
I hated Toy Story.
What?
I know. Just
You're fired. Get out.
They annoyed me to no end. I'm so glad my kids weren't like Toy Story fanatics because I would have not
That's
been happy
such
with
a
this
great
stupid
movie.
Woody running around my house and Buzz Lightyear annoyed me. No, I hated it.
Anyways.
But no, in the movie Up,
Okay, yes, yes.
So-
after the crying.
was he living in risk? Was
Yes,
he
of
taking
course.
risks?
Of course.
He was? At the end, yes.
Well, yeah, at the end. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, before, I don't remember the part that, you know, the intro where it shows him growing up, but I remember that they always wanted to go.
Yeah, they
over
wanted.
there.
It was going to happen someday when all the things align and then tree falls in the house or whatever happens. Someone gets sick, whatever. Like, life happens. And they never take that risk together, and then she dies, and that's what, like,
I
flipped
think
him.
that basically defining moments, like, you know, his wife passes away, so like he just kind of goes into a stasis. Like, he's not, like, his vulnerability thing, it's like a negative 50, and
Yeah.
he is just existing at that point.
Yeah.
And that, I think the whole point of that movie is him basically turning a negative 50 into a 10.
yeah, for
And
sure.
just kind of goes to show, it's like, doesn't matter how old you are. If you're an animated character, anything is possible. Especially if you find a dog with like a talking robot helmet thing. It's great. Just all you need is a talking dog.
And her daughter decided to, I'm actually going to create this thing that translates the dog.
Oh yeah, Scarlett's been trying. She's been like taking wires in different cave, like it's.
I'm pretty sure Nash is going to be explained to us, like, why haven't we got him a MAGA hat yet? Because he's a horrifying racist. This is my dog, people. I didn't raise him this way. He's just gotten real crotchety in his old age. It's so
Racist
bad.
to who?
Remember Grant when he was
Brown
little?
people.
Brown people.
Remember when we would take him to the doctor and the nurse? He was such a racist child.
Who?
Grant.
Grant? Grant's excited to be half black. What are you talking
I
about?
know he is. He's all embraced
He's
it. But
overcome that,
as
thankfully.
a young child, like from birth, the one nurse would walk in and he would lose his shit. Like,
Well, and I guess I should clarify. Nash does not want to interact with brownish men. Kids
so
and women.
me,
oh yeah, no,
definitely don't show up.
don't go up.
no.
He'll eat you.
Women of
How big
any.
is this dog?
He's a little beagle mix.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I mean, but he's a little tougher than you.
That is so funny.
He still might eat you.
Oh my gosh.
He put up with Scarlett, so.
Well, and then he loved the kids. I mean, he didn't like when we went swimming because in his mind we were clearly being tortured, and someone was trying to make us take a giant bath outside, and he was trying to save us and like barking from
right, I
this way,
forgot
follow
about
my voice, get out of the pool, it's okay, I'll protect you. The bath monster's
Yeah.
gone. Yeah, he's not for swimming.
So let's talk about more risk. What are the other risks that you've done in your life, or what are some risks that we're helping people go through, or?
So I would say there's a couple of things that really defined me, actually, that were huge risks and exposed me, and I was in a whole bunch of vulnerability. Probably the thing that really did the most impact on me was in high school, deciding to graduate a year early, combine my senior year together, and having to go and present to the board of the school and teachers and get buy-in when I didn't want to talk to anyone ever. So that was beyond terrifying. My parents basically said, do it, you can do it, go ahead, but it's your decision, we're not doing this for you. And then doing it and being absolutely 100% successful at it, that risk and all of the things I learned within that, and then in that having to be very vulnerable to the class I was leaving, because we had grown up together. It's a small private school. We had 30 kids in our class, and they really did feel like I was deserting them for the next group of kids. And then going into that next group of kids that had all been grown up together. So it was this weird thing where I had to learn a lot about myself and about people and juggling all of that. And so for that year, I didn't fit in either. I was just whatever. So there's a lot of vulnerability there and a lot of teasing. And then jealousy too, because I graduated second in the class. Like that.
4 kids?
34 kids.
Oh. Wow, look at a brainiac over here.
But that, how would you feel if someone comes into your class and
smashes the records and
I'm doing 2 school years together in 1 year? It's not just 1 year of curriculum, it's 2. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff I dealt with. But that prepared me for going forward. It really did change my thought process of, well, let me think it through and analyze it too. What's the worst that can happen? Let's try it. Let's just go. Which on the other end of that spectrum also became a negative because I wouldn't think through anything. I'm like, let's just go. Let's try it. So that was stupid too. So that, and then skydiving.
Yeah,
skydiving
for sure.
really taught me that, death is just death, and it's a different experience. Like seeing people get hit by a car,
You've seen someone get hit by a car?
Yes.
Like you've seen them get hit by a car? Like
yes.
Whoop, like that?
Yes, I have watched a guy on a motorcycle
No way.
drive right into a truck
No way.
and watched him be dead with eyes like this big, like eyeballs, it was, yeah. So seeing that and then seeing people die skydiving, like at least the ones dying skydiving were seriously living on top of the world. They were the happiest, had so much fun, living life, whatever. So for me, it really did.
They burned bright and went out quick.
Yes. Whereas the other guy,
who knows?
I know him. He was a neighbor and he was miserable, but he was on his way to work. So, it's just the context of it. But those 2 things were probably the biggest things that then led to the rest of my life. But then a few years ago, just like having a moment of holy shit, what's happening in my world, what's happening in my life, and then risking standing up and changing and putting up boundaries or really standing for what I want has been huge risk and lots of vulnerability and has resulted in a lot of pain and a lot of awesomeness. But some of those moments where someone asks, how are you?
Don't ask.
Just either don't ask or you're going to get an earful. So that's my vulnerability right there. That's the big key things.
Okay. Well, that was your risk. The 2
Both.
couple of huge big risk moments for you.
Yeah, those were.
Awesome.
I can't think of any,
So how about what have you seen in clients or people that you coach or you mentor, or what are the things that they're?
That's awesome. Actually, I love that. Thinking through that. So, I mean, there's boring stuff like seeing clients actually take a risk on an idea for a marketing campaign. That's huge because they really are trusting you, and this is their business on the line. So I love that. With people that I've coached or friends that I know that they're in the wrong industry for them and they're just skating by and miserable, surviving, whatever. Working with them, encouraging them, and then seeing them finally take the risk to embrace the life they want. That's like, yeah, I don't know that that's just amazing, actually.
How about you, Francis? What are you seeing other people do that's risky, and sometimes you can help them out?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I do know. I'm just trying to think through it. I'll back into it. Just, I've got a couple of friends are moving, have moved, from, Denton to the East Coast, starting new jobs in Boston. I've got a friend who's starting graduate school in upstate New York. Just they're leaving, family, friends, a nice, safe little community to go out in that big wide world where, it's not exactly the Wild West where you're getting on a wagon train and hoping for the best, which is real risk taking. I am a little too risk averse to go that route, but that level of risk taking, just knowing that they've got something to go to that they're excited about, and then knowing that they've got the support here of people excited for them, and sometimes all the support, all you can really do is just let someone know you're excited for them, so that when you're sitting in your new apartment somewhere far from home alone because you don't know anybody yet, and you're starting to get scared and think about you're lonely and you miss your friends, or you're seeing on Facebook somebody's birthday party you're not at, just knowing that you've got positive vibes coming your way and people are excited for your adventure. Sometimes that's the most you can do, is just be excited for somebody.
Yeah.
And not be there with a haha I told you so if stuff doesn't work out. And that honestly can sometimes be the...
It's kind of fun. What are you talking about?
I don't know that Abe could not do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a naysayer.
No. I never do that if they come back hey, remember that thing you told me I shouldn't have done? Mm-hmm. And I did it? Mm-hmm. And I really should have listened to you? I'll never say that.
Bull crap! You said it to me the other day.
Never.
You said, I have been telling you that.
It's different.
I don't feel like
you don't quite. You don't ever start the stories by saying, "Hey, remember that thing you told me not to do, but I did."
No, I said something about so and so agreed with you, or whatever, and I finally did it.
It's daytime, and then you run out hey, guess what? I went to somebody else, and they told me it's daytime. I know. I told you. Spent a lot of time on that subject, but I knew it. Anyways,
I think letting go of my need to tell people I told them so has been a huge personal growth step. I'm working on it.
She's
just look the other way.
I'm younger than you, so I figured it out way before you did, apparently.
She's growth. I'm not going to say anything.
Hey, step 1 is not saying it. Step 2 is knowing that you're not saying it with your face. My face and my brain are not always coordinated in our effort. Sometimes my face is using its outside voice.
That is so fucking true.
You know
immediately where Emily stands on an issue.
Nope.
I'm working on it. Work in progress. But I guess to that effect, risk. 14 some odd years ago, as an 18-year-old, I decided to move in with a bunch of strangers I didn't know that I met on the internet, and here we are. So that was a bit of a risk.
And that was the best decision ever.
Exactly.
For who?
For me.
Everyone involved.
For Grant, for Evan, really for Evan, actually.
Emily's gone through years of therapy related to that job.
No, all my therapy was for pre them.
Yeah. We just very much guaranteed she would never have children is what our role in life was.
If I started to waver on that, oh no, just kidding.
She just has to drive up to Flower Mound for an hour.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, and also I would say it's easier, or at least I found it's easier to make, risk decisions or decisions that have an element of risk when you're younger. Because as a single person, as a younger person, you're not really going to have to be burdened by the idea of like, ooh, I've got a family to support, or ooh, my health isn't what it used to be. So is it a safe enough decision to take an opportunity that may not give me access to good health care, or pick a thing, you know? So
You are absolutely right. I do think, though, people use those as very convenient excuses. And people will use those because if they really wanted to do what they're wanting to risk, they figure it out. I think people do exactly what they really want to do, not what they say they want to do.
yeah.
But to not just say, hey, I wussed out here, I'll create excuses. Oh, it's because my daughter is this, and what would that be like if, we had to downgrade houses, and I mean, I'll just make up shit. Stuff that really ultimately the big scheme, even I could tell you at a different time when the stories are not like happening simultaneously. Oh, it doesn't matter where you grow up, as long as you have a loving home. But then over here, I'll use I don't want to downgrade the neighborhood or whatever. And yeah, people make up whatever it is to not deal with the actual fact, which is I'm scared, I'm fearful, I really want to do this, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Instead of saying that stuff, which is they're not coming to it with vulnerability, they'll make up some stuff.
I don't know, I'm scared I might die because I can't access insulin if I go work for a nonprofit in, the middle of nowhere. I feel like it's a valid, or at least worth considering fear. Like, I need medication to stay alive that must be refrigerated, and I'm going to the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, that's a huge, that's an issue.
That's a fear.
Yeah, but it's an extreme one. They could be mitigated, I'm sure, and could be figured out. You could say like, okay, so what if you take this much with you, and then what would be the trigger point of like, oh my God, I'm not getting what I need, and really, what is the person wanting to do? Because there's another way to do it usually.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate with your there's always a way. There's going to be mitigating situations, and there's no black and white on things like that.
I think there's always a way, and I think people do exactly really what they want to do, 100%. I just firmly believe that.
Actually, the more I think, I don't know that people do exactly what they want 100%.
They do.
No.
Why would not? What would they not?
Sacrificial.
Yeah.
Give me an example. Well, that's because they're wanting to be a martyr.
Or
they have competing wants.
Do they really want to be a martyr, or do they really just?
Their desire to be selfless overrules their desire.
No, I gave you a prime story yesterday or the day before where I talked about Italian. Like, I would love to learn Italian, but only in the condition where time froze and I could learn Italian and not take away from the other things that I want to do.
Right.
But that could be a hobby and fit into your wealth wheel.
I sure could, if I really wanted it.
So.
But I'd rather, like this morning or last night, spend 30 minutes in bed reading, not reading Italian, reading the news or whatever, but not wanting to be, and so I'll just do that.
I think, I don't have my thoughts around it yet, but I'd love to continue this conversation because
it just can't be that people get to do what they want.
No, that's not it. I think that it's a
and it's also a combination
conversation.
But it's also, don't forget, like, it's also years of life that you did certain things, and it's hard to backtrack, right? Like, as a baby, if we were to take everything you know now and shrink you down to a 2-year-old and go forward, well, you could make your things, right? But now you've gone very far down the road. And so if you wanted to turn around and be like, I want to be an Olympic,
like, you got to,
I want to be an Olympic gymnast. Like, really, what do you want? And I think there's always this core nugget inside of there that they can actually reach and accomplish. But it's like, okay, well, now you want 45 different wants. Which one do you really want? You're like, okay, I really want to do this one and this one. Okay, so you can do those.
So play with this idea with me and let me know what you think. You have a mom who has 2 amazing, healthy kids. Mm-hmm. And she's juggling a part-time job that she loves. It fulfills her, okay?
I'm listening.
Then they have a 3rd child. And this child is so extreme on the autism spectrum that she cannot leave her alone for more than a minute or two. And even then, it's basically a handoff game with someone all day long, 24 hours a day. Padded room, everything locked, like the parents covered in headgear so that they don't get their heads bashed in, like the whole thing. She doesn't want it. She absolutely doesn't want it, and she says she doesn't want this. She would love a different life experience. She has no choice. This is her child. What do you do with that?
According to everything that I've learned and what we've been taught, she did want that. Her experience is, I wanted to learn, in this case maybe, unconditional love. It's like, awesome. So here's a child that will teach you how to have unconditional love. Oh, it didn't fit into the mold that I thought it was, because I thought it was going to be like little Susie's going to have like cute little blonde hair with pigtails and pretty green eyes. Like, okay, but you wanted to experience unconditional love. And as a matter of fact, you could just give up the child and move on, but I don't want to do that. So what do you want?
Well, I think that's definitely taking it to a much deeper level than most people.
Well, this is all
as
deep
an
shit
option.
though, but this is all deep.
I know that.
I mean, I'm going to go, for myself, I've learned on any of these topics, like when I actually go to figure out why I do something or why I don't do something, it's always more than the surface.
Well, yeah.
And I have to get really
million
understanding
miles
and go deep and deep and deeper and deeper.
Right.
So in this experience, like, let's say she wanted to have some other experience, like what other experience did you want? And she will say it, right? But really what we discussed, even when it comes to what is the want, is like, what are you wanting to actually experience, not have? Like, I want a yacht.
At this point, she would like to be able to eat without getting food thrown in her face.
She can set that up. There's ways that could happen.
Yeah.
But
that's
what'll
I'm
happen is
saying.
that usually, like, and this is my frustration, is I will see the scenario and I will offer some input. But it doesn't match up with what they're wanting to accomplish or what they're wanting to do. And so they want like their cake and eat it too scenario. And it's like, but okay, cool. How about this is how you could do that?
What is wrong with having the cake and eating
It's
it?
nothing wrong with it, but sometimes
Why else
you have.
do you get the cake?
Because if you don't eat it, you might get 2 pieces later.
Sometimes.
Oh, that's right.
Sometimes you have to make a decision. Sometimes you got to make a decision. It's like, okay, you need this or that.
Okay, but just to go off topic, really, why that phrase? It's the stupidest thing ever.
I'm sure there's a really good story as to how it came up. Maybe it was like for a baker. You want the cake to sell it and you want to eat it too or something? So
Okay,
I don't know.
to buy that.
I don't know.
That makes sense. All the others do not
know.
make sense.
I agree. But go back to this one. Like, I want to be my own boss. But why? Really, what are you wanting to experience? Because in so many cases, I think being your own boss is just go work for somebody that has an aligned mission and vision to what you're creating. You don't have to bear all the consequences of it.
Right.
Oh, I don't want that. But what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating for me because they won't articulate really what they want, or when they actually articulate it and you present the plan, they just won't do it because it doesn't fit the model of the glamour that they had in their life. So it's
Why do you let it frustrate you?
because then they just continue to talk about it. And to me, it's frustrating because it's like, when I get frustrated about a situation, I love somebody that can come in, sit down, listen to me and say, this is actually the 3 things you need to do, and I'll actually sit here and help you do them. But to not help somebody with the tactics in a situation like that is frustrating if I'm on the receiving end of that kind of advice because it's too broad. But if they're willing to sit there and do it and then I don't do it, then what happens is that what I found is that it's fear. Right? And that's what I really should be authentically honest and vulnerable to say, but I'm scared. Okay? And that's kind of where I'm frustrated in that because I'm like, I know what's happening and they're not actually getting down to the root of what it is and I can see it really fast.
But again, why should you be frustrated? Because this is part of their process.
But this
they
goes
have
to
get to the point of understanding.
Right,
that
but I
it's
think this
fear.
goes to the conversation I think we had yesterday where it's like having to release the expectation or release myself from their results.
Yeah.
I care more about their results than they care about their results. And I shouldn't do that. So I should not take that on, but it is something that I do.
Maybe it's just kind of the misalignment of, how do I say it? I don't know. Sorry, my profound thought kind of escaped me.
There's one a week, so there we go.
Yep, there it is.
Find it.
Just
Talking about expectations and alignment
Yeah.
of mine and theirs, and
well, just understanding like what that intent is, especially because this is something that Miles and I'll have come up. I don't know if it's maybe just sort of a man and woman thing, like girlfriends and stuff that I'll have, like we'll just like kind of vent about things. Like we don't need anyone. I'm not asking you for your advice. If I'm asking for your advice, I'll ask, what do you think I should do?
Yes.
And if those words haven't come out of my mouth and you start telling me what I should do, I'll be like, at what point did I ask you to tell me what your thoughts for what my life was?
Right.
And I know that, like for Miles and I, like we've had to have that conversation of like, okay, I'm just venting, or help me figure this out.
right.
And if I'm not asking you to help me figure this out, your advice is unsolicited and therefore unwanted and probably isn't going to be done anything because I wasn't asking you.
Right.
It's definitely.
So then it's just someone telling you what to do. And
well,
like,
it's
get the
definitely a
fuck outta
man
here.
and woman thing because guys don't usually vent without wanting to have help solving the problem.
And I do wonder
and women
if,
like to vent.
because it's hearing yourself talk through something.
Right. We just process it completely
Yeah,
different.
and I think it's like, linguistically, like whatever the talking part of your brain
Yeah.
is, like in women is typically quite a bit more developed.
Right.
Just because that's how it is.
That is how it is. And sometimes, I mean, I'll be in the same mode and I'll tell Jannica, like, I just need to talk this out. And sometimes it's around a problem that we're doing, and I'll put all the Venn diagrams and the flow charts. And, sometimes she'll ask questions, but she won't solve it. And then finally, like, okay, help me solve this. Or here's all the Lego pieces that I know. Can you help me, like, tie it together or whatever? And sometimes when she's been in that mode of just talking, for example, I'm like, well, do I need to help you solve this? So I would say from an active listener perspective, trying to be cognizant of those moments and like, okay, wait a second. I need to ask, are they wanting to get help or not? So.
And then honestly, just being able to, like you said yesterday, just divorce yourself from, if they even ask for my help and they don't take it, I did what they asked and I gave them my advice. And I did what they needed me to do in that moment. That is done. If they ask me, hey, here's whatever advice you gave, can you help me do the next step or whatever? At that point, then it's like yes or no. And making it a back and forth, not a...
It's just something inside of me.
It's
If
a game of
somebody says, I want to do something, but here's the opposite of it. When someone says, I want to do blank, every part of my body's like, I'm going to help you. I'm all in. It doesn't have to be just money. Maybe there's no money, maybe whatever. I'm in to help you, right? So I get kind of like spun up, and then ultimately it's like, oh no, I just want to talk about what I want to do forever. Like, okay, got it. Maybe you need to talk to somebody else.
But is your initial reaction coming from a place of help or the excitement of like being along on an adventure?
Both?
It's
Maybe.
I read this morning. In your human design profile as a 5-1, you're here to deliver practical and universal solutions to problems. His like the little nickname for a 5-1 is the fixer. So it's like they can't even not immediately go to, how do I fix this? How do I, like that type of personality? And I mean, it's also a gift too, to be able to see the problems, to see
Absolutely.
the solutions. It's just learning that balance of when it should actually be offered and
that
when it'll be received.
May contribute to some of the fact that you're great at advice, but not necessarily the teaching or mentoring aspect of it, because being a mentor and a teacher is like, it's not about fixing it for someone at all.
Right.
You are straight up, your job is to let them flounder and like grab them right before they drown.
100%. You are correct.
Yeah,
It's a totally
so that's
different
probably
thing.
why for you it's just like, God, what is this?
Yeah, so what I had to find out, and now I'm learning, is two things. I need to have a paywall, I need to have a structured format, and I need to have accountability. Then I get to quote unquote fix with the person, and
then you're
it's agreed
working
upon,
together
and we're working
to collaborate,
together 100%. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not in, I'm all in, or I'm not in, they're really all in.
It is a team endeavor.
It becomes a team endeavor, and we have an agreement, right? It's like you put money in to me, allows me to be like, I'm focused on this person, And then at the end of the time, like you're still making your commitment, so our project can advance, and I'm happy to work with you. Love it.
Yeah.
And that is the thing I have learned. And so situations outside of that just don't work well. And really, my thing is also honoring myself in that way. Like, part of what I have to do is to just learn and experience things. And so when someone says, I need help, it's like, cool, let me go to my bag of tools. I have exactly the tool, and I have this experience, or I have the person that I can introduce you to. And so I'm doing all those things, right? So ready to share them with somebody, but it's honestly sometimes too much too fast, and it's not smart. It's not smart. It's so yeah. I mean, I'm going through my own process to learn these things, and that's why and that's my experience around it. But the same thing with the risk. So if somebody comes up like, man, I've always wanted to have my own business. Awesome. We have a system that'll get you through there. No, I'm not really sure. Okay, cool. But if the person comes the next day, like, really, I've always wanted. I told you, I really always want to have my own business. Like, cool. Still have the same product ready to go.
Yeah.
And after that, if it doesn't work out, like, okay, now it's just literally you're wasting time, because I'm going to keep on directing you to a product or to our newsletter or to our live shows, and if you're not going to do anything there, why are you continually telling me?
Right.
But usually, I mean, that's a gross example, because it doesn't ever get like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my story.
You're sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it.
So one of the things I'm studying in human design and
Jinkies?
Gene Keys, but last
It always sounds
night.
like you're saying jankies. I'm like, jankies. No.
So last night in human design in my class, we studied the spleen, like the splenic center, which is all about fears.
Spleen. Oh God.
And people who have an undefined open splenic center are either extremely fearless to the point it's detrimental to them, or they're like afraid of everything. And this is the person that's not living like in a healthy situation. And then you have those where it's defined, where they're able to have this deep intuition and this knowing of when to take risks and when not to, and what's safe and what fears to acknowledge and what to release and all of that. And I was thinking last night about our wealth with vulnerability and really wanting to go through, and I went through everyone that I have charts for, and was to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, definitely undefined, the massive risk taker, like when most people live in the unhealthy. So before I even got to their charts, Larry, Evan, and Scarlett, those three completely undefined, and they're serious, crazy risk takers with their bodies. Like, I can do that, let me just do it. And then, like it's insane. And then with Scarlett and Evan, it's even worse because they don't have any gates attached, which means they have no idea what to fear.
I'd be curious to know what Miles is, because some of the stories, I'm like, how are you alive? Like,
do I have his info? Did you send it to me?
No, I don't know what time he was born, but
send it to me. I'll do it when you do. But I was
make it to 30.
I was dying because one of the examples that they gave for someone with an undefined spleen, a child with an undefined open spleen that has no gates, the worst thing you can do was what came up in her when they did her psychological analysis for PTSD, which is lock them in a room by themselves and tell them they have to stay there. And do that before the age of 7, and it creates all sorts of trauma. And we did that when she was 3. And I knew when the PTSD stuff came up and they were talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I just knew that was that experience. And that's what came out in the counseling, the conversations. And then reading it last night, like there's a whole 2 paragraphs, the worst thing you can do. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
If they have an open spleen?
Open, undefined spleen with no gates.
What's ISA?
ISA?
Did you look at it?
Yeah, I have it. I'll look at my notes really quick. I think he was defined, actually.
So I can't lock him in the room, is that what you're saying?
No, I think you could. He's one of those you probably could.
That sounds horrible.
I know.
You're talking about timeout. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a timeout because she was really disrupting at school, and that was the guidance and advice we were given at school. What was today?
Well, that's interesting to think about, because like Scotty and Scarlett both would just like lose their damn minds on just like the naughtiest step of it. Literally just sit in the hallway on a stair, have a timeout.
Right.
Whoa! I probably could have stuck them in boiling water and gotten less of a reaction. Where Evan So I was just kind of like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, whatever.
go with the flow. And Grant would kind of depend on like, you know, basically his thing was like, this is bullshit all the time. So
For sure. Grant was all about
Human
them.
beings are nuts, man.
yeah. But
Yes.
it was always interesting. Just like I just remember Scotty was just like, oh my god, again, it's like
Creating mini
making
gods.
sit on fire ants, and I was like, whoa, it's just a carpeted stair in your air conditioned home. Calm down.
Yeah, Issa is defined.
Okay, cool. Time out and closets it is. he does not like timeouts, but nope, nobody
No,
does.
he does. But it's a difference in, and it goes back to they don't know what they're supposed to fear. And so then they create all of these irrational
should
fears.
they be fearing the was it chancleta or how's it?
The what?
The sandal? You know, the
Oh, the shoe.
Yeah,
the
Whack.
chancla.
chanclas, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the problem is. They don't have the fear of the shoes, so
They don't have the fear of anything.
this is the
And
problem
I
with these
remember
kids.
that when Scarlett
I
was
was
little.
legit scared.
Oh, me too. I knew
So-
what that belt felt like, and the paddle, and whatever else they could find to hit
So
me
there
with.
is some fears. Yes, I could imagine like some people like my kid's fearless. It's just because you never gone to the level where you listen. And I'm not saying that's a good idea, but I'm just thinking like that's a whole different parenting style.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm doing or whatever, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, thank you guys for being vulnerable and for talking about risk today and exposure. Wrapping up our show.
You didn't share your risks.
You guys didn't ask because you guys want to talk
kept
so much.
talking.
Yeah.
You generally talk plenty, so I figured you'd get to it if you wanted to. You used up your time in a different way.
Anyways.
It's his way of not being vulnerable.
Yep. And avoiding exposure.
And avoiding exposure.
Yeah, I don't think, no, avoidance isn't
No, it's
any
not
of
there.
those things on the
There
wheel.
are negatives of things, right? And then there's combinations of things on the wealth wheel. So thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Abe Nadimi. Right below here we have all our links, so follow us on social media. Emily likes to always make sure that you know to follow, but not follow. Like not follow home.
Yeah.
Unless you're a UPS driver. And anyways,
First of all, it was Amazon, and I thought we agreed that we weren't going to talk about that.
we're not talking about it. We're not talking about it. We're just alluding to it in the team here. So check us out. Our website is thekineticexperience.com. Our YouTube channel has not only some clips from here, but also our Becoming Da Vinci show, which is really epic and awesome. We'll be filming a new episode, I believe, on Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
Oh my God, that's tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. So we got some cool stuff that we'll be filming, and we have this cool box that we'll be busting out during our show, which is a there's a good story
Surprise.
here. It's a surprise for those that are watching the Becoming Da Vinci show. Anyways, signing off, Abe Nadimi.
Jannica Morton.
Emily Francis.
Adios.
Bye.